everyone, it's Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas with your July market update. So we're going to hop right into it. First and foremost, so July year over year, we sold about 10%, almost 10% more homes than we did in 2025. So our year over year looks great. We're also seeing that sales, as far as the days to sale, we are about a week faster. So selling houses 7 days faster as far as time on the market than last year. And on top of that, we're also seeing that sellers are getting about 1% more of their asking price year over year. Now, all of these the headlines sound phenomenal. If we're saying Austin real estate market, hey, we're coming back. But that's looking at it through a very, very narrow lens. So while we'll talk about month over month, we're going to talk about year over year data. We're going to talk about year to date data. What we also need to do is keep it in historical context. And the reason why is last year was absolutely abysmal. So I would be remiss to say if I just gave you last year's data and I compared it to this year, it would make Austin's housing market sound phenomenal. I'm going to give you the full details as we hop into it. So with that, once again, my name is Danielle Fountain. I'm the founder of the One Realty here in Austin, Texas, where we take a data-driven all-in-one approach to real estate. Hopping in. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of look over where our numbers for the month of July. Now, keeping in mind, agents and builders, when they're finalizing their MLS listings and what sold, a lot of times we don't see those final numbers for a few weeks. So we'll probably see them go up slightly, but not a lot. By the beginning of the second week, we should have some pretty standard numbers. That being said, where we are for this August. So this July, we're in August, but this July. So we've closed 822 sales in July of this year. Now, as I said, it's almost 10% more than last year. So last year we closed 749. This year we're at that 822 number, which sounds great. Now, what we also want to do is look at our historical context. I want to say, hey, where did we sell in comparison? Where were we historically a few years back? And I'm going to go ahead and show you that right here. Sorry, my screen's kind of got all wonky on me. So if we're going to hop back down here, we're going to see if we look at historical context, and we're going to look right here. We're going to see July starting in 05 all the way to last year in 2025. The average sales was 1,157 home, or median was over 1,200 homes. If you take that into context, that really shows how slow we are. And if we actually look at that, if we actually look at where we are pre-2020, so pre like the big COVID boom of housing out here, or if we look at it post-2022 when the market fell, we sold significantly more houses. It was normal to sell 1,200 houses in July, and we're nowhere near that. So, we're at 822. That's a pretty big hit. And what that also means is that we also have these buyers that are kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting. So when you look at it as a seller or as a buyer, yes, we're selling fewer units in Austin. However, our population has continued to increase year over year, or for the past couple of years. We've kind of stagnated a little bit right now in the past year and a half, but our buying has gone down. So what is happening to all these buyers? Well, a lot of them are actually in rental units, whether it's apartment buildings or homes where people can't sell it. They're renting instead. It's more affordable for them to hold on and to rent a property than to buy it this time. So it's a mixed reason as far as why we're not seeing these numbers go significantly higher, as well as interest rates. If you've been paying attention to interest rates have been going up since the beginning of spring. We've kind of been seeing interest rates continue to go up, which has affected the purchasing power of our buyers. So we can see right now, in July, we closed 822 units so far, almost 10% up year to date. You can see our average sales price is $822,000. If we look at that compared to last year, we're up by 10 grand, but 1.3%. But that doesn't really If we look at it, our averages are going to be very interesting sometimes, because we will have high-end luxury homes that are selling for 8, 9, 10 million. And then we're going to have, tear down lots selling for 250, 300,000. Yes, tear down lots starting that. If you are in premium areas, you will have some premium areas where your tear down is almost $1 million here in Austin, Texas. We're not seeing a lot of it because we're not seeing the buyers on the back end. So we don't have as many developers buying and tearing down to build big houses, because we're not seeing as many buyers in that high price range currently. That being said, so we are year over year. This is a big indicator. This year over year, it just tells us, hey, we're kind of very similar to last year. And if you remember at the beginning of this live stream, I said last year was abysmal. So the fact that we're close to last year's numbers as far as sales price, that doesn't really say much. If we look at month over month, you're seeing these big drops right here. The other thing that we're seeing drops as far as month over month actually has to do with the close to list price right here, original list price. And you're going to see we're about almost 1% lower in July than we were in August, or July than we were in June. And that is because sellers are making deals to get their home sold. So when we see the drop down, like the sales price to the original list price, that means that sellers were having to give up more in order to get it under contract. Or we're getting closer to like, hey, I'm going to drop my price to even get that interest. So that is really big to kind of see, hey, here's what is happening and what is going on. If we go to year to date and we say, where are we in, if we look at where we are in July, and we want to compare it to where we were when we ended last year. So we're looking at the end of December of last year. How are we comparing? That's what we want to look at. And you can see, okay, we've got 100 more sales this month, 12 point something percent plus percent. We're in July. We probably should see this number a little bit higher than that, but interest rates were better in the December timeframe. You're also going to see our average sales price is it's up slightly for the average, and the median is up slightly, but the rest of it, it's not that big of a difference. What we're also going to see though, is we are seeing that our close price to original list price, all of our ratios, our close price to list price and our close price to original list price ratios are significantly higher. That is normal. If you are looking for a steal in the Austin real estate market, typically if you're making offers in October, November, and December, you are getting a really good deal on a house that's been sitting on the property. If we look at our historical average, where we are this month compared to where we are, the historical difference for our averages, we are underselling. If we go back from 2005 to 2025, our average, we're down about 335 homes. So that's almost 30%. That is a huge difference in regards to the number of houses that are being sold. So upfront, yes, we did see an increase year over year, almost 10% in the number of sales. Houses were selling faster, about 7 days faster, 21% faster. You can kind of go in that realm. Price points have kind of stayed very close between our average and our median. The close price to original list price, sellers are getting more this year than they were last year in July. The whole caveat of that is July of last year was horrible. So we didn't have to go very far to beat July of last year. If we compare it to June and where we are in June 2025 or June 2026 to July 2026, we're kind of getting our butt kicked a little bit, in the sense that sellers are having to give a little bit more, about 1% more of their original list price to get people under contract. The prices have gone down substantially. We're talking $50,000 for our average, $25,000 for our median. We're starting to see kind of days on market kind of stack up. So that being said, if you are looking to buy a home and you are not picky, and there isn't like a specific buy box, waiting might be kind of in your best interest if there's lots of properties. That being said, there are still areas where hot properties move significantly faster. So if you are looking at an area, you find houses and they go off the market quick in those areas, That's going to be different. That's why you really need to know your buy box. You really need to drill down on what is happening in the specific area versus using this general Austin data. So if you have a question about about a specific Austin area, please reach out. You can find me, Danielle, at theonerealty.com or www.theonerealty.com. But with that, I'm Danielle Marie from The One Realty here in Austin, Texas, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day.